Hello, everybody. So what I have for you today is a Grim Dawn build that I have theory crafted to AFK kill Callagadra. So I'm actually going to start this up right now. This is not like some of these other Callagadra killing builds you've seen where it's like 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Now this happens in a flash, and when I say that, what I mean is you can go watch an episode of The Flash and come back and Callagadra will be done at the end. So this is not a fast build. But the idea is that I can literally not do anything. You see I have no actives on my skill bar here, and I've just summoned Callagadra, and eventually they're going to die. It takes quite a while, but we will get there, and most of the time you will not die here. I think I've gotten to a point where it will never happen, but when I was theory crafting this initially once or twice, I had actually come back to find that I had died while attempting to do the AFK kill. So I'm going to walk you through the build here. I'll give you a little bit of background. You'll notice my resistances are very high, so when I was first thinking about putting this build together, the basis of it was how high can we get our max resistances? And so in an attempt to get them as high as possible, I've pretty much taken every possible max resist buff that you can. So we'll go through the gear first here. I'll start with Mythical Avenger of Cairn. This is the best amulet for max resistances. It's got +4 to all resists, as well as +4 to ether. So that's the basis of our build here. You can see we've got a Manerian and a Ring of the Black Matriarch. These are pretty interchangeable. They both give +3 maximum vitality resistance. That's the best you can get on a ring. Manerian helps a little bit with block and resistances, whereas the Black Matriarch gives us a little bit of retaliation. Obviously, if we're AFK, we need to do damage somehow, and retaliation is the answer here. We do not do nearly as much retaliation damage as a retaliation damage focused build, but we've worked in some. Our main sources, I'll go over to the retaliation page. We've mostly got a little bit of physical, as well as a little bit of acid. So that's the jewelry slots for you. Helm, I'm using a Dawnguard helm here, mostly just because of physical resistance. You'll notice all our resistances are well overcapped in order to be able to handle the resist reduction debuffs. We also have a large chunk of physical resist. I think our base is well overcapped enough so that we're still in the 60 range when we have all the debuffs on us. 54 sometimes you can see. From there, we are using 3-piece Judgment of the 3. So the weapon, the chest, and the shoulder slots, you cannot get any max resist buffs from those slots. So I've chosen these 3 of the 3 pieces in order to get the 16 physical resist, as well as some acid retaliation plus counter strike and set bonus. You can use other things to get you actually more physical resist here. I just figured this works the balance between actually being able to do a little bit of damage as well as still being heavily focused on survivability of being able to be AFK. Moving on from those, the shield, you might wonder why we're not using the 4th piece of Judgment of the 3. There's a couple reasons for that. One is that the main benefit of the 4th piece is the Eldritch Shard, which is an active, and we're not using actives in this build because it's AFK. The other thing is Siege Breaker, the shield we've chosen here, gives us significant maximum pierce resistance. Especially useful against Callagadra, because a lot of their damage is pierce. And then we also get 18 physical resistance from this shield, which is a significant chunk of our physical resistance, which is also very important for this particular fight. From there, we'll go to the legs, hands, and boots. These are all just as high physical resistance pieces we could get, so they're formidable, which is +4 physical resistance on pieces that can already roll physical resist. And then these are also all of blades suffix, just to give us a little bit of extra retaliation damage. These are really hard to farm for. I made these in GD stash, so this is not like a legit build if you're worried about that, but given that this is sort of a meme theory craft, I figured we would just push it to its limit. So that's what those pieces are. The Rhyme Guard chausses, I think these are all craftables. all three of these pieces because the craftables are the ones that come with the base physical resistance on them. Looking at the belt, we have Tinker's Ingenuity. This is, again, a place where you can get plus maximum resist, so poison and bleeding are the two we get here. White Lotus is your other option for the belt slot. I went with the Tinker's Ingenuity just because it gives more resist itself, so that made it easier to overcap our resist. For Relic, we're using Manir's Bastion. I know it has an active on it, so we're not making use of that, but we are here purely for the 5 physical resist from the Relic, as well as the shield block chance and shield damage block. Shield block is a significant portion of our tankiness, on top of the resistance. And then lastly, for the metal, we have this Sanctus Crest, +4 to all your elemental resists, as well as +4 to Pierce. You'll notice that there are significant portions of this fight where our Pierce is hovering at 100%. And that's because we have so many sources of plus max Pierce. So that's the gear for the build. I expect a lot of this is pretty flexible. I'm sure there are ways you could sacrifice tankiness in order to get a little more retaliation, or go the other way if you want to be even tankier. I have tried this against Callagadra and Ravager. I have not done any of the other super bosses, but I expect it to be able to handle Mogdraden and the Nemesis bosses. Not sure about Great. So that is it for the gear. Let's move on to skills. So we are in Soldier and Oathkeeper here. Warlord sort of makes sense. Soldier is known for its tankiness, as well as having a lot of passives. Manir's Will, we'll start with that. It is a significant portion of our survivability here. Basically, this is just as soon as our health goes below 33, we get a huge amount of healing, as well as healing over time. So this basically allows us, while it's up, to make sure we're not going to die. So you'll see over the course of this fight in the background, our health bar basically goes down slowly over time, and then it shoots back up. That's because of Manir's Will. And essentially, we're taking little enough damage over the course of a long period of time that anytime our health is below 33, this is likely back off cooldown. Along the bottom here, we've got all of the soldier passives, military conditioning just for extra health, shield training for a little bit of extra blocking ability. Veterancy is most of our health regeneration, which is important in this build. We're not attacking or doing a whole lot of sources of damage, so the sort of life leech approach that you see in a lot of builds for healing up doesn't work here. So veterancy provides most of our just passive health regeneration. Field command, you're really just for the defensive ability and armor. Squad tactics, you could pull out. I have a point here, just lingering. You can put it wherever you want. Decorated soldier, not very useful, a little bit of slow and elemental resistance, but as you can see, our elemental resistance is so far overcapped just from our gear that we don't really need this point here. Then we've got Scars of Battle for armor absorption, bleeding resistance. Doesn't really do a whole lot other than that. Stun and freeze duration for some bosses might be relevant. Then we've got Manir's Bulwark, very important in terms of damage absorption, as well as increasing our healing and health regeneration. This is sort of a complement to veterancy that allows us to stay alive. And then the extra retaliation damage is useful for allowing us to make this not take quite as long as it otherwise would. Counter-Strike is our sort of concession to the fact that we kill things here. It's just doing some damage, as well as a place to put passive devotion procs. That's it for the soldier tree. Oathkeeper is a little less heavily invested in. As you might expect, we've got Presence of Virtue, Haven, and Rebuke. These do some retaliation for us, as well as some extra health and shield block abilities. That's really it. Resilience is the main reason we're in Oathkeeper. It's +5 max all resists when it's triggered, so that actually allows us to get our Pierce up to 100%, as well as a significant boost to our physical resistance when it triggers. So this is the other thing that's a defensive proc, along with Manir's Will, that's really keeping us alive as we drop our health a little bit lower. So that's really the main reason we're in Oathkeeper here. We also have Guardian of Empyrean and Celestial Presence. Guardian of Empyrean is actually doing a little double duty. We'll talk about that when we get to the devotions, but Celestial Presence is just a little bit of poison resist reduction for our acid retaliation. You could leave off of Scion of Drieg if you'd rather go physical route, but because we have Judgment of the three-piece, we have more acid retaliation than physical. So that's why I've chosen to take that here. And then our last points are just safeguard for the extra armor. These could be really wherever. Because we're not using any actives, as you might imagine, we have more skill points than we really need to spend in this build. So if I'm not literally AFKing, I'll probably put some of those into like Fire's Might, Tonic Shift in order to be able to move around the map a little faster. If you're playing multiplayer, you can go War Cry to taunt people and have someone else actually kill stuff. If you wanted to run this as sort of a tank build for pushing SRs or something like that. Overguard, as you might imagine, another good active if you wanted to use it, but we're here for the memes, we're here for the AFK, so all of the actives have been removed from this build. So let us go into the devotions. Now, there are a few devotions that we're not hitting that actually give you extra percent resist, which was the original idea behind the build. So you can see in Leviathan, there's maximum cold resist, there's max pierce resist in Oleron. Unfortunately, we're unable to work those into this build because we're mostly focusing on physical resist in the devotions in order to get that up as high as possible. So, main sources of that, we have Manticore, the point down here gives us 4 physical resist. We've also gone into the rest of Manticore, put that on our Guardian of Empyrean, just as a concession of the fact that we do still need some resist reduction in order to do more damage. So we're getting our flat resist reduction from Manticore. If you wanted to, you could probably switch Manticore out for Dryad instead. You'd lose that acid spray, but instead you'd have Dryad's Blessing for a little extra healing, and then you're still getting the physical resists from Dryad itself, which unfortunately we just don't have enough points to get into. Other sources of physical resist, we have Lion for 2, we have Stag for another 3, as well as Lotus for 3. Then Scarab is here for a little bit of extra shield block and retaliation, as well as just points to get us over to Obelisk of Menhir. So Obelisk of Menhir is sort of one of our key devotions here. For one, it has extra pierce resist, which is again useful to get that to 100 against Callagadra. And then we've got Stoneform, which is our other big defensive active, or rather trigger, which, while this is up, basically you're not taking any damage. The combination of 400 damage absorption plus all of your high resistances means you're getting hit for very, very small amounts while this is up, and it's up 2/3 of the time. So this is a pretty powerful source of damage mitigation here. We're also all the way into Shield Maiden for a little bit of extra block as well as retaliation. What else do we have? Jackal gives us 2 more physical resistance. We're 3 points into Wendigo for the 4 physical resistance there. And then Rat is just a little bit of retaliation as well as more points to get us over to Wendigo. And Manticore. So that's pretty much it for the devotions. Oh, right, Sailor's Guide again, more physical resistance. That's really the purpose of this devotion tree. There are other sources of physical resist you could mix and match. You could probably pick up some of the more retaliation-focused devotions if you wanted to. But again, we're here for how tanky can we make the build while it's AFK, and for that I went with this devotion tree. That's pretty much all there is to say about the build. You'll notice in that time we've gotten Callagadra around to half. One thing that's relevant is the first half of the fight is actually slower than the second half of the fight, because Callagadra has a below 50% buff that includes 40% damage absorption. So it'll actually slow down from here. This is a good place to go back and watch the fight a little bit, because in addition to that damage absorption buff, Callagadra gets significant damage and attack speed buffs as well. So you're never going to come close to dying in the first half of the fight. Second half, you might see yourself get low. Occasionally, you'll end up below 33%, while your Menhir's Will is still off cooldown, or on cooldown. So let's just watch the fight for a little bit. You'll see we're moving along quite slowly. The reason I started the fight at the very, very beginning of the video was because I knew I would run out of things to talk about over the course of it about the build. But you see, I still haven't moved. I spent all of that time in menus, just talking about what we're doing here. And that's really about it. I'm just going to leave this to run for the rest of the time and stop talking. If you've made it this far, thank you all for watching, and I will have a link to the Grim tools for this in the description, so if you want to put this together yourself, you are bored of the Callagadra fight, you don't want to do it, you can just, you know, spend the time to walk over here, click the altar, and then start your theory crafting on something else while alt-tab. Eventually you'll come back and you'll get that perfect Callagadra Mystic roll. So thank you all, and hope you enjoy the rest of this fight, and I will see you later.